What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So I want to talk about Teofimo Lopez. And this video was a request. And I said, I'm going to speak about this as well because I've made a couple of videos about this individual. We're talking about Teofimo Lopez. Now, Teofimo Lopez, when he fought Lomachenko, I went with Teofimo to win. It was very hard for me to find other people that thought, not that I was looking to see who else thought that he would win, but almost everybody I heard was going with Lomachenko. I just felt like Teofimo had the style to beat Lomachenko, and he did. And he got his props for that. And he said after that fight at the post conference, this generation is going to be different. You're going to get the best fights. You're going to see the best fighting the best. It's not going to be like in the past where everybody was chasing the money. Remember, he said that. That came out of Teofimo's mouth. And people gave him so much respect and props for that. And I said it's a double-edged sword for the simple fact that you're not going to be in your prime forever. And at some point, there's certain guys you're not going to be able to beat anymore. And if you walk away from this sport broke, but feel good that people are going, oh, that guy was a warrior, but you have nothing to show for it, you'll have that feeling of, if I knew then what I know now, I would have did things different. Remember when he said he was going to fight Devin Haney? Right? This was before he fought Linares. He told him, you beat Linares, I'll fight you. Remember that. Okay? Devin Haney beats Linares. And what did he say? He said, even if Devin Haney had a loss, he still would have fought Devin Haney. Right? Okay. And he said, him and his wife was having a baby. Girlfriend, wife, whatever. And they were having a baby. And, he didn't want to fight at that point. That fight never materialized. Remember, Devin Haney's name kept coming up. Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. He was even asked, what fight do you want at 135? He said the Devin Haney fight ain't going to happen. This was more recent. And then he said, people can say what they want, but Kambosos earned his spot. He fought his way to get here. He earned his shot against me. He said Devin Haney hasn't. He was also asked, are you saying that Kambosos has a better resume than Devin Haney? And he said, well, I don't feel like, again, he said he don't feel like Devin Haney fought his way there, but Kambosos has. Yeah, Kambosos has a better resume. Okay. The fight against Devin Haney, okay, his father, okay, had a phone conversation that was recorded, and it's up here on YouTube, where he basically asked him, can I get $4 million from the zone in 2021? He said, I'll fight for $2 million. Him versus his son, I'll fight. But he said, well, why would I fight? Why would I fight your son for $2 million when I can fight for $10 million against Kambosos in front of 60,000 people in Australia? So it wasn't so much for the competition, right? It was the extra money. Okay. But he says it's not going to be about the money, right? Remember, you're going to see the best fight the best. This generation is going to be different. And what did I tell you guys then? Everybody says that shit until they're in the driver's seat and they get to the point where they realize there's far more money on the table than what they've been making. And all of a sudden now, they all sit here and talk about Floyd was great, but Floyd cherry picked. Floyd was great, but it's always a but. And you want to know what's so funny? Before Floyd Mayweather even got to De La Hoya, look at Floyd Mayweather's resume. These dudes' resume cannot compete with his resume. So he put the work in before he started I'm gonna take a lighter fighter now. No. Look at his resume all the way, even afterwards, because even Canelo and Pacquiao, those guys were all after. Maidana, they were after Oscar. But look at his resume. You look at all these guys' resumes. Their resumes can't compete. But they're arrogant, they're cocky, and they have one signature fight. One, and then they act like they've conquered the world. Now I don't have to go hard. Why? I beat the man. So if his fans is happy with seeing him sitting on social media acting really arrogant and smug, and basically feeling like there's nobody for him to compete with, I'm just going to hold a belt until they strip me or until I retire, right? Old and gray. Like it's some fantasy land. There's nobody for me to fight. Listen at this. The 135 division is a fucking disgrace. It's a fucking disgrace. To have that much talent, and these guys, for whatever reason, the fight's just not happening. Teofimo beat Lomachenko. That's the last great thing he's done. It's the only great thing he's done, but the last great thing that he's done. How long are we going to hold on to that? Give credit where it's due. What are you going to do now? He said he didn't want to give Lomachenko a rematch. He said, why? They didn't even respect me enough to put a rematch clause in the contract. So basically, if he had won, he wouldn't have gave me a rematch. So why am I going to give him a rematch? I understood how he felt. But after you opened your mouth and started talking about it's the thrill of competition more than the money will come, but it's about the fights. He said, I got to start looking at better fights where I'm making more money. You guys realize that now, huh? You guys realize that. And this is why when I look at you guys and I say, you guys are comparing a guy that was in his mid-30s to a guy that's in his 20s, early and mid-20s, as if Floyd didn't put the work in. Like he just walked his way to becoming a billionaire by fighting nobody. Yeah, okay. You guys can harp on that and make yourselves believe that if you want to. But what are these guys? What is their excuse? To be honest with you, the only fighter at 135 that I see that's willing to, I want the best guys out there, is Devin Haney. I've said this shit a long time ago. Ryan Garcia can fight. Teofimo can fight. Tank can fight. Devin can fight. But it's like strategic movement with who I fight and when I fight these guys. Devin is more like, man, let's go. The problem that you're going to always have, okay, I don't try to control what people do and don't do. The problem you're always going to have with fighters, I don't care how much cheering you do for someone, when it gets to a point where these guys are in control of, they're the A side against whoever they fight, if you think they're going to leave big money on the table because they're worried about you criticizing them, you're crazy. And the same guys you praise today, tomorrow, oh man, he fighting for the money. Of course they fight for the money. That's how they make their goddamn money. And it's what I keep telling you guys. You keep talking about how fighters of old fought for no, they all fought for money. They all fought for money. It was easier to put fights together back then. Back in the day, it was. But they all fight for money. Why the fuck would you go into a profession to get punched in your face and your ribs, risk getting killed in the ring when you can go do something else just to make a small amount of money? They all want the big money. So him saying that about the best is going to fight the best, yeah, this all sounds good. But like I told you guys, time will tell. We'll see. And nothing's been going on. 135 has been one of the most dead talented divisions in the world because nothing's going on amongst the top guys. Ryan Garcia runs his mouth, but he's out of commission. His brain is all scrambled. Teofimo keeps talking like he's the man at 135. But he's the one that don't want to make these fights happen. Why would you not want to fight Devin Haney? He said, like I said, why would I fight him for $2 million and turn down 10? No, you'd be stupid to do that. But he only wants to fight Kambosos in Australia. Why? Because he can sell out there. Now he doesn't want to fight him simply because of COVID, and now it won't be a sellout crowd over there. That's the reason he wants to fight Kambosos over there. He don't want to fight him in the States. He tried that shit. You guys can believe all that COVID nonsense. That fight got canceled 4 different times because nobody's buying tickets to that fight. It won't sell here. It's not, plain and simple. So he said he'd rather fight Devin Haney in the States than Kambosos. He'd rather fight Kambosos than Devin Haney if he can fight him in Australia. That was the only reason the fight was supposed to happen in Australia. Okay. It's a money move. It's a money grab. We get it. Now, as far as him fighting Lomachenko, he said he'll fight Lomachenko under the condition Lomachenko has to accept his terms, which is he has to fight for, he said 135 million, 1.35 million, not 135 million, 1.35 million. And then the rest of the money goes to him, Teofimo. And if Lomachenko don't accept that offer, he'll gladly walk away. He said that. Okay. He's already pissed off all these other promotions. He's pissed off the zone. You know, he claimed, he's gonna fight. He'll fight Devin. No, when people want to make negotiations happen, they want to put money up for a fight, and you bail on them. You walk away. Okay, you eat your own words up. You renege on what you said. Pissed off Top Rank. Okay. the dude is really just not doing anything. Triller, these guys said they lost $5 million on the promotions alone. Now, what he's saying is, if he's forced to fight Devin Haney, right, he will gladly, willingly relinquish his IBF title. That sounds like a guy who wants the best competition out there. Look, I gave Teofimo his credit as a fighter. I've always said he was a good fighter. To be honest with you, one thing I say is I don't care about, what fans think. I don't care about all of this fanboyism and, you hating on this guy or whatever, because it's okay when you're giving them their credit, but when you call them out on their BS, then all of a sudden you're hating on them, which, I'm too grown up for that bullshit. I don't care about, the little inner-feeling fanboy, I'm in love with Teofimo, please don't talk bad about him, it hurts my feelings. That's your business. Okay. Teofimo Lopez. Okay. A talented fighter that is ducking fights. Simple. And everything I'm saying about him, you can listen to him speak right here on YouTube. Words come out of his own mouth. So my whole thing is, it's always easy to run your mouth and talk when you're not in somebody else's shoes. But then all of a sudden, you're trying to get to that point and you realize that there's different steps you got to take to get there. And now you start making a hypocrite out of yourself. If Lomachenko accepts and he wins, it's going to be an uphill battle for Teofimo because he's doing terrible business. If he does fight Lomachenko again and he wins, well, that's another feather in his cap. But this arrogance, this ego that he's carrying around is not good for boxing and is not helping him at all. When he was asked about fighting Josh Taylor, he has this chip on his shoulder like he is the top guy in boxing, period. He's far from that. He's a good fighter, but his name doesn't hold weight like that. Top of that, Josh Taylor is unified at 140. Okay, undisputed. This guy talks about him being a bigger draw than Josh Taylor, and pretty much he beat a better opponent to become undisputed than Josh Taylor did. With all that being said, if he's not willing to fight Devin Haney, okay, and they split 4 million, if he's not willing to fight Kambosos, who he claimed has a better resume and earned his spot, okay, in the States, where is he gonna go and fight Josh Taylor? So in other words, it's gonna have to be more than probably the 10 million that he was gonna get against Kambosos. Josh Taylor is a proven champion. I haven't seen him show that he is not willing to fight the top guys. I haven't seen fights canceled. Something goes because he doesn't want to fight. Teofimo is going to have to fight a top guy. Back all his arrogant talk up and get in and show and prove. Not sit here and talk us to death about who you can beat and how you beat this guy and this guy did this and this guy didn't do that. You clearly said it's a money grab. You clearly said I got to start making the fights, making the most money that I can make. It's a business. That's exactly why. Like, last year when some idiot opened his mouth to, oh man, you getting salty because he talking about Floyd. I said, no, you can go to hell. I don't care what he's saying about Floyd. It's the principle of what he's saying about Floyd. You think because he beat Lomachenko, one guy that has a name, that his resume is even this much close to being to Floyd's resume? He beat one signature fighter. One. And all of a sudden, this guy has conquered Mount Everest. He conquered it all by beating Lomachenko. No. Here's something that gets me too. You and Tank Davis were rivals at 135, right? So you're talking about going to 140, but you still don't mention Tank Davis' name. But you mention Josh Taylor's name. Mentioning people's names and actually making the fight happen are two different things. We are not seeing action. We're hearing talk. How do you think you're going to go up to 140 and you have all the cards and you're going to tell Josh Taylor this is what the stipulations are going to be and we're going to do this and this my way? You're not bigger than boxing, and no one is. So when it comes down to the best fighting the best, we've yet to see that in the 135 division. We've yet to see it. All of this talking about what you're going to do, now you're backtracking. And again, when I gave you your props for beating Lomachenko, and I was pulling for him to win, and he won the fight. I thought he could beat Lomachenko, and he did. The same way, I'm going to call you out on your bullshit. You cannot sit here and pretend that we didn't hear all this shit that came out of your mouth. At the end of the day, when these guys are chasing these bags, if there's a country they can go fight someone in and they're going to make double the money, triple the money, you better believe that is their motivation. Otherwise, if money wasn't the motivation, he clearly said it. He'd rather fight Kambosos in Australia because in front of a sold out 60,000 people for 10 million. That fight did not sell over here. If it was about the competition, it wouldn't matter if it was 60,000 people and if it wasn't 10 million. Then he clearly says the fight with Devin Haney is not happening. He's willing to drop his IBF title if they force him to fight Devin Haney. And you tell me that that's a man that's about that action? You telling me that that guy is fighting for the thrill of competition, but he's willing to relinquish his title because he doesn't want to fight Devin Haney? Now, make all the excuses you want for him because he's your countryman or because he lived down the fucking street from you, he's your neighbor or whatever the hell he is. I don't give a shit about that. Feel how you want. I'm calling it exactly the way I see it. No different from me saying, hey, whoever the Charlos fight, I want to see them fight and win. I'm pulling for them to beat everybody. But you also heard me say the reason that Jamal Charlo versus Demetrius Andre didn't go down is because Charlo didn't want to fight. The reason we didn't get Danny Jacobs versus Charlo is because Charlo don't want the fight. Regardless to why, the point is he don't want the fight. So it's no need to talk about any fighters just to end up not fighting them. And I'm not going to treat Teofimo. I wouldn't treat Floyd. I wouldn't treat Anthony Joshua, anybody, any different. At the end of the day, if you don't want that smoke, it's best to shut the fuck up and stop talking like you want that action when basically the fight's not happening because of you. See, before he beat Lomachenko, there's certain things he would have settled for because in his mind, I feel like I'm the man, but I'm not there yet in terms of popularity. He's still not there yet. He just got the belts on his shoulder, belts around his waist. He's not a big draw in America. Now, let's just be honest. If he wanted to fight the best fighters, he don't have to leave 135 to do that. Beat Devin. Beat Ryan. You know, there's a lot of guys at 135. Beat Tank Davis. And the fact is, like I said, Tank went to 140. The only thing he did was ran his mouth about he think it's a mistake because, Tank, he's not naturally that big and he think those guys are going to be too big and strong. And yeah, Tank went there. He passed the test with flying colors. You come along and all you're doing is talking about who you want to fight or when you want to fight. Bottom line, if you notice something about Teofimo, anytime they ask him about who he wants to fight, what he really does is make it like they're not worthy to fight him. His response is always something like it's no big deal. But then you take a guy who pretty much you don't even know the guys on his resume that he beat, and you're trying to tell us he's better. He's better than Ryan Garcia. He's better than Tank Davis. He's better than Devin Haney. He's better than these other guys. Stop playing games with yourself, man. No way. No way. And George Kambosos, he's a decent fighter. I've seen him fight, and I think he's a decent fighter. I think he can put a proper scrap up against Teofimo. But at the same time, I don't think that Kambosos is better than none of those guys I just named. So at the end of the day, man, when you talk, and really, his father makes it even that much worse. Because his dad talks like Teofimo is untouchable, unbeatable, and like the most feared boxer in the world and will fight anybody. And his father just talks and talks. He makes it seem like he's the one in the ring fighting. Then if you really, really believe in your son that much, talk to him and tell him to fight Devin Haney. Talk to him and tell him, okay, you beat one guy that had all the belts. Props to you. Now, to solidify that shit, even make it greater, beat the other top dogs. Then if you want to go to 140, no problem. And if you can't get Tank at 135, get him at 140. How about that? His father also shook hands with Bob Arum. Remember that. They were supposed to have the rematch with Lomachenko. Teofimo is showing no interest in fighting a top guy. Teofimo is focused on trying to find the bigger bags. I get it to a degree, right? But at the same time, now you guys see what I mean about how people love to open their mouth about other fighters, but then they go out and do the same exact thing, or worse. And then people forget what they said, but I didn't. So Teofimo Lopez, again, is a talented fighter, but he has shit to prove. And until he goes out there and clean out his division, until he gets out there and fight these top guys, bottom line, beat the top guys. Bottom line. Then you can say, now I'm going to 140. And guess what? You beat Ryan Garcia. You beat Tank Davis. You beat Devin Haney. You beat these guys. You go to 140, right? You got more bargaining chips on the table than you did before that. You saying you're undisputed, he's undisputed. Let's make it happen. Then what? That talk died down. And then he arrogantly was answered some other questions that was asked about Josh Taylor. Well, if they're going to pull a Usyk on you, Teofimo, meaning you go to 140 and all of a sudden you become mandatory challenger for someone's title, for one of Josh Taylor's titles, so be it. But the point is, you got to want to go in there and fight. And you don't seem to want to go in there and fight anybody unless the money is bigger than what you're used to making. But you were the one claimed things were going to change, and you was going to be the one. You was going to be the one to change everything. And I've seen no change. The only change I've seen is in your attitude. So maybe you was lying all the time, or maybe something happened inside where you just see things different now. But you've done nothing since you've beaten Lomachenko. And the truth is, if you really wanted to fight Devin Haney, Lomachenko, or any of these other guys, these fights could have been made. Now, as far as Tank Davis, they got him over there in a position of they're calling the shots. They want to be the A side, and they're making it difficult for certain guys to fight Tank because they want Tank to be the A side. I really just get turned off to where when I'm watching boxing now and I'm seeing these guys talk, and then the fights don't happen, it's nothing to really go into. At least after we speak about it now, it's like, what else can you really say? It's just more the same soap opera, more the same drama, more the same nonsense that we've been seeing. Where's the action at? You guys are 20-something years old. You guys are in a position where you can make things happen. But no, one guy has every excuse to not fight. Fight postponed 4 times. Or having a baby. Or I was going to fight him even if he lost. Or well, it ain't going to happen. Well, I'll fight this guy under this condition. What's new? Other guy, he lost his mind. He can't focus and fight anybody, but he always got something to say at the end of somebody's fight about what he would do to them. Another guy goes up to 140, did what he had to do, still making history in that. Then you got the other guy who just can't seem to get none of these other top guys in the ring with him. So they can talk all this shit about Devin Haney. He don't punch hard, and it's funny because none of these guys want to get in the ring. They're not breaking their neck to fight Devin Haney. The fact that he is making a name for himself and his name is mentioned in the same breath as those guys, why none of these guys are anxious to put him on his ass and get him out of there? So if he don't punch hard, he has no power. Run through him and beat him and prove it. We don't need you guys to talk to us about what you're going to do. Get in the ring and show us. Anyway, with this whole situation at 135, with this whole, I want to go to 140, I'll be at my best. I'm naturally more of a 140 pounder, and I don't have to cut as much weight, and I'm even more deadly at 140. And well, now that you have these titles, you need to defend them. You don't add to your legacy just by simply picking guys because you're going to make more money in that fight, knowing damn well that there's other guys. Do you think people would rather see Kambosos versus Teofimo, or do you think they'd rather see him versus a Devin Haney or Ryan Garcia? Excuse me, or Tank Davis? I already know the answer to that. So to sit here and make it and say out of your mouth, Devin Haney hasn't earned his spot with you, but Kambosos has, yet you only want to fight him in Australia. because more money and 60,000 people. And now once the 60,000 people went away, all of a sudden now, oh, you don't want that fight now because the money's not going to be there. The crowd's not going to be there. You don't have a big fan base over here. And you thought you'd get those fans over there, right? That's incompetence. It's terrible business. You're not worthy. You're not trustworthy. You're not reliable. And that's what you've been showing everybody. Regardless who admits and who doesn't, you're showing us nothing different than what we've seen. In fact, at the end of the day, you should want to make an example out of Devin Haney. Everybody knows Devin Haney can box. So all that, oh, he don't punch hard. Oh, man, he's this, he's that. Go beat him. Go beat him. At least they even talking about Devin Haney. Who the fuck is talking about Kambosos? Who's talking about Kambosos? When have you ever even heard somebody say, yo, I want to see such and such versus Kambosos? When have you ever even heard somebody say that? And you're trying to tell us that he's better than Devin Haney. He's earned something that Devin Haney hasn't. Look here. There's a famous line. There's a line a rapper said one day, okay? He said a dope MC is a dope MC. With or without a record deal, all can see. You know what he's saying? That MC might not be selling records on the level of this MC, but he's far better skill-wise. Better content. Overall, he has more substance. You understand? And they know on that mic, I will burn you. But you're a bigger star. You're a bigger draw. But you can't fuck with me. That's how I look at the flip side of what you're trying to say about Devin Haney, like he's not on your level. Even if it's not going to be the biggest money, he's a good fighter and you know it, and he's capable of beating you. And that's why you don't want to fight him. Especially after you went from just say 2 million. Now you've made 10 million. Your stock goes up. You're not going to fight for less than that. They know you've been paid that, okay, we're not going to get him in the ring for less than 10 million. We get it. And Devin Haney can derail that for you. And that's why you don't want to fight him. That's why you don't want to fight Tank Davis. That's why you don't want to fight Ryan Garcia. You say you're going to fight them. But I also remember him being asked a question about fighting either one of those guys, and he said, as far as he's concerned, they got to go out and beat somebody and prove that they deserve to beat it. They didn't do it, but Kambosos did. How many times have Kambosos been world champion? Say what you want. And we know that Floyd and them over there, Leonard Ellaby, they're playing, like I said, the A-side card with Tank, and they're trying to, we want to call the shot. We get it. They're trying to keep all that shit in-house. And like I said, these guys are millionaires before they even get to these big names. Tank Davis is putting a nice resume together. Let's not be stupid. But at the end of the day, if you guys fuck around and wait and let your primes go, and these fights don't happen when they should happen, you guys got nobody but yourselves to blame. But you were the one talking differently. You spoke different from Tank Davis. You spoke different from Ryan Garcia. You spoke different from all these other guys. Now, Devin Haney was on the same page. He wanted to fight the best guys. He's been saying that. But you talked all this, everything's going to be different now. You ain't showing us nothing different. Nothing. So, look, I've said enough about you. I'm going to leave it right here. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people. And I will catch y'all on the next video.